Coming up, Tzu Chi provides a safer living environment for quake survivors in Nepal. In honor of Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital's 10th anniversary, patients come forth to share their stories. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. On May 4th, the Tzu Chi Foundation erected some 10 large tents to provide quake survivors in Bhaktapur City's tent community with a safer and more secure shelter. After spending a night in their new environment, many quake survivors told our reporters that their living conditions have improved drastically as a result. Let's take a look. Along the creek, quake survivors find a spot to do their washing, while some take a bath. My house collapsed during the earthquake. We don't have any running water here. We cannot shower nor wash our clothes, so we have no choice but to come here and do our washing. The water is relatively clean. Life has also taken a turn for the better for residents of this tent community in Bhaktapur City. Previously staying in shabby makeshift tents, these residents have now moved into a more spacious and secure shelter thanks to Tzu Chi. My house is gone and some of my clothes are dirty. I'm going to wash them first, then pack them away. No longer cramped into a small tent, Jar can finally spend some quality time with her younger sister in the comfort of their new shelter. The previous tent leaked and got very stuffy during the day. It's much more comfortable here. Quake survivors can finally get a good night's rest in their new shelter. For residents, these tents provided by Tzu Chi have been a godsend, providing temporary solution to their plight. When it rains, water may seep into the tent. If we stack bricks against the tent, it can prevent water or mud from getting in. Once frantic with worry as to how they will get their lives back on track, with the help of Tzu Chi, residents have found a ray of hope and something to smile about. Among the volunteers who joined the Tzu Chi Disaster Survey and medical team in Nepal is a Nepalese Tzu Chi volunteer who moved to Taiwan 25 years ago. Upon hearing that his country was in trouble, he and his wife immediately contacted Tzu Chi to offer their services.
This is Kathmandu's most popular shopping district. 10 days after the massive earthquake, business is starting to return.
Tourism is one of Nepal's main source of income. Thus, when the earthquake struck, revenue stopped. However, on the streets of Tamal, foreign visitors are beginning to return. Suresh, who runs a shop selling tanga, says business has been light since the earthquake happened.
After the quake, we closed for a week. Then, for a couple of hours a day afterwards, we will reopen the shop. But no customers came, even though we were open.
Walking through the shopping district, this Nepalese Tzu Chi volunteer fondly remembers growing up in these parts. 25 years ago, he left Nepal for Taiwan and has lived in Taiwan since then. But upon hearing of the tragedy, he knew he needed to come home to help.
At the time, all I could think about was what was going on in Nepal. I couldn't concentrate on my work. I just wanted to return here, but I didn't know what I could do to help. Now that I'm here, as long as I'm needed, I will stay on to help.
After making sure his family members were safe, the Nepalese volunteer joined Tzu Chi to help his fellow countrymen in need of assistance. Now, his biggest wish is for his country to rebuild as quickly as possible. Malaysia is a top destination for Nepalese working overseas. When news of the earthquake first broke out, many Nepalese workers in Malaysia were frantic with worry over the fate of their loved ones back home. To assist those families who have been affected by the earthquake, Tzu Chi volunteers in Penang visited a local factory, bringing comfort and emotional support to the foreign laborers. Upon learning that there are 5 Nepalese laborers working at a local factory in Penang, Tzu Chi volunteers immediately came to offer their condolences and support. Frantic with worry since the earthquake, this is the first time these foreign workers have voiced their worries out loud.
I wish that I could go back to Nepal to check up on my family to see if they are safe from harm. My heart aches. My mother is still in Nepal. Her house and my house have both collapsed.
Thousands of kilometers away from home, religion has been a source of strength for these migrant workers during these difficult times. Volunteers prepared video clips of Tzu Chi's ongoing relief efforts in Nepal to settle their anxious hearts.
I've never heard of your organization before, and until today, I never knew that there was such an organization that goes out to help people in need. Today, I have witnessed what your organization does, and now our hearts are more at ease. We know you will do everything you can to help the Nepalese.
Boleh percaya lah. Macam ni mai tolong mesti boleh percaya mah. Kita nampak sana pun au. Ini madam ada kita tolong au. Boleh percaya mah.
We want to let them know that the world isn't only concerned with their own well-being. There are people across the world that care for them.
Prior to the volunteers' departure, Nepalese workers wrote down the address of their relatives back home in the hope that their love and concern may reach their loved ones through Tzu Chi.
In the wake of the recent earthquake in Nepal, Tzu Chi volunteers in the United States have come together to hold donation drives in California. One Nepalese Tzu Chi volunteer even returned to Nepal to help on the front lines, while his wife took to the streets in the U.S. to canvass for donations. Here's more on that story.
This is Lai Da-mai, a Nepalese Tzu Chi volunteer who traveled to Nepal to help earthquake survivors rebuild their homes. This is Lai Da-mai's wife, who has taken to the streets with her daughter to raise funds for the earthquake relief efforts in Nepal.
Thank you. I finally received a call from him yesterday. I think he has been busy with the disaster relief work. Anyway, I finally got a call from him yesterday and learned that he is doing okay. In fact, I was not very worried about him because he went with a lot of people.
Jian Xiuyu also made soaps and ointment to raise funds for the relief efforts. Tzu Chi volunteers in Los Angeles are also canvassing for donations at 9 locations, including supermarkets and bakeries.
I trust Tzu Chi because the donation will be put to good use.
We're very concerned about what happened in Nepal, and we just want to help out, and I want my son to understand what's going on in the world, and understand when other people are suffering, that to lend a helping hand. It's a good thing.
Tzu Chi volunteers have been collecting fresh produce at the farmers market in Cupertino for low-income families for 8 years now. This time, they also received permission to canvass for donations.
Thank you so much.
While at the Tzu Chi Academy, parents donated organic lemons and handicrafts for an auction to raise funds for Nepal.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
As we pointed out yesterday, Taiwan's sewage coverage rate is only 26.76%, way less than developed countries, and is even lower than some developing countries. Discharging domestic wastewater right into rivers not only causes serious pollution, but also produces foul odors, provides breeding grounds for pests, and spreads communicable diseases. This is why the sewage coverage rate is an important index in a country's competitiveness.
There are typically thick buildups in the septic tanks of these old apartments, so they smell worse and are filthier. First, we have to vacuum out all the fecal matter in the tank. Then we will bulldoze the tank, fill up the space, and finally connect the wastewater pipe to the sewage system.
Taipei City is trying to improve its sewage coverage rate. Unfortunately for construction crews, this means coming into contact with other people's waste feces. Currently, Taiwan's average sewage cover rate is only 27.67%, which means the waste matter of only some 6 million people is being treated at sewage treatment facilities. So then what happens to the waste matter of the other some 16 million people?
They rely on the septic tanks or the other wastewater treatment systems of their buildings. However, their capabilities are very limited, as Taiwan is densely populated, so pollutants within domestic wastewater are also very high. Once discharged into rivers, they will easily overwhelm the river's capacity to handle waste matter.
Clogged ditches and exposed drainage pipes are signs that a building's drainage system and septic tanks are poorly maintained.
If septic tanks don't undergo regular maintenance, they will begin to lose their efficiency, which means waste matter will directly flow into ditches. Not only will there be foul odors, the environment will become polluted as well.
And thus domestic wastewater flows into Taiwan's rivers through ditches and drains. In the past, Taipei's Danshui River and Kaohsiung's Love River were notorious for their foul odors. The government solved the problem by stopping the discharge of untreated sewage into these rivers. Unfortunately, the same cannot be done for the rest of the country's rivers. The truth is, Taiwan's sewage coverage rate just can't compare with other nations.
Since Taiwan's sewage coverage rate is only 20-something, while Europe is over 90%, we are behind by 65%. If we can improve just by 2% a year, that will still take 30 to 40 years.
With a proper sewage system, no longer will citizens be troubled by the unpleasant odor of domestic wastewater. It can also stop the propagation of pests and communicable diseases, and thus improve quality of life. This is why the IMD has listed sewage coverage as a key component to a country's overall competitiveness. Just exactly why is Taiwan struggling to raise its sewage coverage? Take this old apartment complex in Taipei, for example. The sewer worksite sits within the plot of the first-floor homes.
Before we started building sewers, it was typical for the first-floor homes to extend like this.
Building sewers typically requires the first-floor homeowners to remove the illegal additions they have built on their land.
For those who pile their personal belongings on the fire lane in the back and are unwilling to cooperate, we will ask their neighbors to help persuade them, as being connected to a sewage system is better for the environment and adds value to their homes.
At first, residents were to be responsible for the cost of the sewers, but now the government is responsible for the cost. Having already spent more than nearly $9 billion, for every 1% increase in coverage, the government has to spend another $322 million.
The government allocates about $4.8 billion per year to public works, and only about $322 million of that can be allocated to sewage works. So increasing sewage coverage by 2% a year is unlikely.
Currently, for those households unwilling to be incorporated into the sewage system, the government stated that after the work has been completed in their surrounding communities, they must do so at their own expense within 6 months or face fines. And starting from 2018, the government will impose a wastewater treatment tax on every household. Still, Taiwan has a long way to go in terms of minimizing pollution to the environment.
Today we meet a mother who is a carrier of a genetic disorder. Because of her condition, Zheng Huizhen was afraid to have another child upon her first daughter's untimely death a year and a half after birth. Thankfully, under the expertise of Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital's Cai Liping, a specialist in genetic disorder, the mother successfully had a healthy baby. To celebrate the hospital's 10th anniversary, the mother brought her son to thank the medical staff for their past dedication and care.
This is 7-year-old Zhe Kai, who stands at 124 centimeters tall and is in good health. After losing a daughter, Zhe Kai's mother, Zheng Huizhen, didn't know whether or not she could have a healthy child.
I really needed a lot of confidence to have him.
Fearing her future child might be infected with the genetic disorder she carries, Zhen turned to Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital doctor Cai Liping. After extensive testing, Dr. Cai successfully determined that the baby was free from genetic disorders.
Normal chromosomes come in a pair, which means the 22nd chromosome needed to have 2 copies. If both copies are there, then it will be a healthy baby. When we conducted a CVS test, we saw that Hui Zhen's baby had both copies of the chromosome, which confirmed he was a healthy baby.
我做很多卡片。
这个是什么？
飞行公车可以到这个可以到别人去玩的公车。
走慢一点。
As Zhe Kai will be heading into elementary school this year, his mother wanted to bring him to the hospital to thank the medical team that took care of them.
真海。
你要忘记了要双手。
哦，你长那么大了。赫然在7年之后再看到这么一个。
Suddenly, 7 years has flown by, and seeing this child again in such good health affirms that what we did back then was the right choice. I think not only are the family members happy, but as medical personnel, we also share in the joy of this life.
也觉得心中非常的雀跃。这个是美燕阿姨，
这个阿姨，
哎，这是淑慧阿姨，
这是姐姐的干妈。
At the hospital, Zhe Kai meets the nursing staff who helped his mother through the loss of his older sister.
谢谢他们替我们照顾小小的生命。
I really want to thank them for taking care of her back then, and for also helping me to welcome my son into this life.
这个换来这个幸福的宝宝。
谢谢你。
With the help of the Tzu Chi medical personnel, Zhen was able to move on from losing her daughter and fully embrace her son. While a short visit to the hospital puts the mother's heart at ease, the son now fully understands how precious life really is.
In celebration of the upcoming Buddha Day, which takes place on May 10th, Tzu Chi volunteers recently held Buddha Day ceremonies in Taipei's Wanhua district and the Tzu Chi Banqiao grounds. Besides coming together to pray, the participants in Wanhua also served tea to their parents at the occasion to express their gratitude, whereas the attendees in Banqiao included many Tzu Chi care recipients who seized the opportunity to thank Tzu Chi for its care.
Mr. Shen came with Tzu Chi volunteer Lin Jianguo to the Tzu Chi Banqiao grounds for the first time. Lin has been visiting Mr. Shen since his car accident.
I recovered and have been working for 2 months. I'm fine now thanks to Brother Lin, who still visits me. He asked us to give the aid to someone else. We're very thankful for him.
Grandma Lin came with Tzu Chi volunteer Zhang Maoyang, who assisted Mrs. Lin's son after he was left exhausted from caring for his ill father.
I'm very touched by his love for his father, so I'm happy to help. We're just like one family.
After a decade of Tzu Chi's help, my life has become much more settled.
These care recipients were all invited to take part in the Buddha Day ceremony. Among them, Mr. Tsai, who has anemia, also came to say thank you.
I was unemployed and broke, but Tzu Chi pulled me through that difficult time. I'm so thankful.
Besides saying thank you, some care recipients show their gratitude in other ways.
Upon receiving the scholarship, her daughter donated 1,000 NT dollars.
Seizing the occasion to express their gratitude towards Tzu Chi, the care recipients walk away with joy in their hearts. At another Buddha Day ceremony in Wanhua, Tzu Chi volunteers decorated the ceremonial tables with evergreen shrubs and flowers.
The theme of this year's ceremony is filial piety, so we decorated with gold rest, which is a symbol for longevity.
Volunteers also reuse glass plates, vases, and shelves to cut down on costs. Tzu Chi volunteers and community residents came together to pray at the Buddha Day ceremony at the Wanhua Jingsi Hall, which included serving tea to parents. One participant spoke proudly of her daughter's participation.
I am very touched and proud that she has done so many good deeds and created so many blessings for her family. I've never said this in front of my children.
Tzu Chi volunteer Pan Chaoqing massaged his mother's hands, while many other participants also expressed love for their parents at the event, adding love and warmth to what was a solemn Buddha Day ceremony.
The Tzu Chi Great Love Preschool in Walnut, California, held an early Mother's Day celebration, during which students showcased what they've learned in class. Also celebrating Mother's Day, Tzu Chi volunteers in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, held a gathering to show their appreciation to recycling volunteers for their contributions. One participant resolved to improve her manners after witnessing her children's growth in Tzu Chi's parent and child class.
For Tzu Chi volunteers, May is a time to show appreciation and gratitude. Hence, volunteers in Hunei, Kaohsiung sent for the community's recycling volunteers and DaAi mothers to thank them for their commitment. Besides showing their appreciation to the recycling volunteers, participants also served tea to their mothers to express their gratitude.
My children said they are not earning money, and I said that's fine, because children do not need to buy gifts. Then they said, we will cook for you instead. I was really moved.
Originally from Sichuan, China, Zhang Xueli never had the opportunity to attend a Tzu Chi activity before she got married. Seeing the changes in her children's behavior after joining the Tzu Chi's parent and child class, she made a vow to change.
I am very straightforward and can easily hurt people with my words. In Tzu Chi, I can improve on this, and I really hope I do.
Zhang Xueli hopes the changes will improve her family, and her vow is her special Mother's Day gift for her family. Students of Tzu Chi Great Love Preschool guide their guests to wash their hands upon their arrival. Some parents say they're happy to be guided by the children because the kids are doing the right thing.
My child reminded me, Mom, you have to cherish Mother Earth and not waste water. Turn off the faucet fast.
As the children sent to express their gratitude, one father was moved to tears.
I remember I was driving the kids home one time, and they started singing in the back seat. Thank you, dear Dad and Mom, for giving us a home, protecting us from storms and rain. While driving, I had tears in my eyes.
At this early Mother's Day celebration, these young children have learned to cherish their parents as they express their deepest gratitude to their moms and dads.
In Taiwan, Hsinchu County's Shakeng Elementary School recently held an event to celebrate the end of the semester as well as Mother's Day. Invited to participate, Tzu Chi volunteers from Zhudong Township led the students to serve tea and present a homemade card to their mothers. We will leave you with these images at the end of the show. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.